I remember going to his international assembly and hearing him reveal his theme, "Look Beyond Yourself." And when you think about that, isn't that what Rotarians do? Don't we look beyond ourselves? Don't we help other people? He challenged the Rotary world to do that, and they did. Raja's been a great supporter for many, many years, and certainly one of my mentors, and I'm deeply grateful to him for that.
Then I think about Past Director Sudarshan Agarwal, who was on the board of directors when I was an incoming district governor. He doesn't remember me coming through that reception line because he would have no reason to remember me coming through that reception line.
But I remember him very well. And when I went to Delhi, when I was on the board of directors in 1998 for a National Immunization Day, I was hosted in Delhi by Past Director Sudarshan, who took me to lunch, got me in the Parliament, the Indian Parliament, and showed me an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you very much, Sudarshan. I think about past President Kalyan Banerjee. Kalyan was president when I was the president
nominee, and how open Kalyan was to bringing me into the fold. A
practice that we continue today. I remember sitting in the president's office as the nominee with Kalyan and with President-elect Sakuji Tanaka, and we talked about keeping Rotary moving forward. Sakuji and I continued that last year with now President-elect Gary, and I can assure you that Gary and I plan to do that with some fellow from Sri Lanka. I can't remember his name. It'll come to me later. I think about Sushil Gupta. I remember watching him on the board and what a great job he did. I've always enjoyed our conversations and his wise counsel, keeping me informed of things that were going on in India. I think of Yash Das. Yash was on the board last year. I had the pleasure of serving with him. I really kind of met him the first time when he was a sergeant at arms at many Rotary functions. But he has so much more talent than that. And I think being a sergeant at arms is a tough job. I've actually done it myself. But having Yash on the board, chairing the executive committee, has allowed us to make some great progress on the board last year, and he served the board very ably. Shekhar Mehta was a training leader for me when I was the moderator of the International Assembly. He also was on the board last year, brought great and wise counsel to the board. When either Yash or Shekhar made a comment, you needed to listen because they knew what they were talking about. Oh, and that guy from Sri Lanka. I can't really say a whole lot about him except 20 years ago we met and we were training leaders together. And then Bill Boyd, when he was president of Rotary International, appointed Ravi and me and Sakuji Tanaka, along with past Rotary International President Glenn Estes, to the trustees of the Rotary Foundation. And I had the pleasure of serving with Ravi as a trustee for 2 years before he resigned and became a director of Rotary International and served Rotary well, as he has always done. I wanted to share a little bit with you tonight about my theme and how I came to develop that theme by telling you at least one and maybe two personal stories. The first one has to do with the fact that I was invited to join the Norman Rotary Club in May of 1979. And I have always wanted to be in a service club. As a matter of fact, some of you may have heard me say this before. In high school, I was a member of Key Club. Key Club is the high school unit of Kiwanis International. Kiwanis had a big jump on us in attracting high school students because they started the first Key Club in 1925. We didn't start Interact until 1964. Well, I graduated from high school in 1964, so it would have been difficult for me to be in Interact. I was very active in Key Club and thought, you know, one of these days, I'm probably going to be a Kiwanian. And I went to college, I graduated, I got a job, and I never got invited to Kiwanis. A very dear friend of mine invited me to the Norman Rotary Club and sponsored me into membership. The year I was district governor, believe it or not, I got invited to a Kiwanis club. Not as a prospective member, but as a speaker. And it was the Oklahoma City Rotary Club. They were meeting in the Petroleum Club there in downtown Oklahoma City. And I started my comments by telling them about my Key Club experience and the fact that I could very easily be the district governor for Kiwanis, for their Kiwanis Club today, except I was never asked. And I made somewhat of a flippant remark after that. I said, you know, you Kiwanians are just as bad at membership development as we Rotarians. But at least someone invited me into Rotary. Can you imagine I've never been invited back to that Kiwanis Club? Not once. Or to any other Kiwanis Club. But that's what happens. We don't ask people to join. Well, fast forward about 18 months from when I joined the Norman Rotary Club. And I decided that I had more important things to do than to waste my Thursdays at lunch going to Rotary. I was very busy. I was a young professional. I had 2 small children. Jenna was a teacher and was working. We were an extremely busy family. I was running a foundation very similar to the Rotary Foundation for the University of Oklahoma. I thought about what happened at Rotary. The food wasn't very good. The programs were somewhat marginal. I knew everyone in the club anyway because of my job. And I was trying to figure out why I was paying my dues to go to Rotary. So I just decided, I think I'll just quit going. As much as I thought I really enjoyed community involvement, giving back to my community and trying to make a difference, I just couldn't reconcile why I was doing all of this or what was coming back to me. I was looking for a little return on my investment. Well, back in those days, if you missed 4 consecutive meetings, the manual of procedure said you had automatically terminated your membership. So I got a telephone call from a past district governor who said to me, Ron, I thought you wanted to be in the Rotary Club. And I I said, well, Gene, I thought I did too, but you know, there really is no reason for me to come. I don't enjoy the programs. I certainly don't enjoy the food. And quite frankly, I just don't have anything to do. I know everybody in the club anyway. He says, well, would you come back next week and let's talk about it as a favor to me? And I looked at it and I said, Gene, yes, out of respect for you, I will do that. We were actually colleagues at the University of Oklahoma. So I went the next week and he met with me and the incoming club president, who was a pretty astute fellow. We talked about my membership and why I wasn't coming. And the incoming club president said, well, we'd love for you to stay in the club. We'll overlook the fact that you've missed 4 meetings or maybe 5 meetings in a row. Would you be willing to accept the position as chair of the Rotary Club, the Foundation, Rotary Foundation Club Committee for next year? And I thought about it for a second, and I said yes. And that was the day that I made the transition from being a member of the Norman Rotary Club to being a Rotarian. I tell audiences that my great love in Rotary is the Rotary Foundation. And ladies and gentlemen, that is why my great love in Rotary is the Rotary Foundation. It turned my life around. It truly changed my life. I got engaged with Rotary because I was given an opportunity to do something that I could do, something that interested me, something that I thought and still think truly makes a difference in the world. The fact that I, even if it meant that I just contributed money, could actually touch and change lives anywhere in the world through people who were like-minded, who cared about others and communities around the world and wanted to make a difference and make them better. I think what we have to do, we talk so much about membership. How do we attract and how do we keep members? You attract members by having a strong, viable Rotary Club that's making a difference in your community with projects that really say this is Rotary in your community and around the world. You get the publicity for those projects through your local media and other sources that you may have, and then you ask those people who can truly make a difference, who really have something to add, who really should be Rotarians, and we all know someone who should be a Rotarian, but we have to ask them to join. That's our responsibility. It's not their responsibility. And then once we get them into the club, that's when the real work starts. You've got to give them a reason to stay in the club, to get engaged, to truly make that difference. They're not going to come and stay in the club if there's nothing for them to do. It may not be the Rotary Foundation. It may be youth exchange. It may be vocational training teams. It may be blood banks. It may be health issues for women and children. It may be water and sanitation. It could be any number of things. It may just be something right there in your local community. But the point is, you have to get them engaged. You have to get them involved in that process. So when I look back at my Rotary experience, I am so grateful to two people. The first is the person who invited me to join my Rotary Club. And the second is the person who gave me a reason to stay. We all probably, if we stop and think about it, had very similar experiences. Maybe if I were speaking to just a Rotary Club somewhere in the world, there might be people in that room who would not have had that experience. But when I'm sitting in a room like this with seasoned, dedicated Rotarians who have shown their dedication by being here at this institute, I've got to believe that you have had a similar experience. You have found that one thing, at least that one thing, that makes you want to live Rotary. And that one thing is allowing you to change lives all across this world. And as I always tell audiences, we've got to get our Rotarians engaged. We've got to get them in. We've got to give them something to do. And what will happen when we do that? It's an inevitable process that lives are going to change. And just as in my own case, the life that's going to change the most is your own. I can certainly tell you that every time I do something in Rotary to help someone else, I'm the one who gets blessed. And I have to believe, knowing what Rotary does in this part of the world, you know that as well, if not better, than most Rotarians in the world. You have been engaging Rotary very well for many, many, many years. You have been changing lives all across the globe, in your own countries and everywhere else, for many, many, many years. But I have to honestly believe that you are the ones who have been blessed. And we're looking forward to spending the rest of this wonderful Zone Institute with you. Judd and I are really delighted to be here, and I look forward to speaking with you again tomorrow. Thank you very much.